welcome to today's Verified Live. We start in Russia. Vladimir Putin has addressed thousands of people in Moscow's Red Square after claiming a landslide election win. The rally was held to mark the 10th anniversary of Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea. Well, standing alongside three loyalist candidates who were allowed to run against him, President Putin said that hand in hand Russians will move forward. Western countries have condemned the election as neither free nor fair. The US has just called it incredibly undemocratic. President Putin described the Donbass and other parts of Ukraine occupied by Russian forces as part of a new Russia. Let's have a listen.
As for Novorossiya, Donbass, the people living there in those days of the Russian spring declared their desire to return to their native family. Their path back to homeland was much more difficult and tragic. But we did it, and that too was a great event in the history of our state. Now we are developing, we are marching together, we feel the fellowship. Just this morning, I was told that the railway from Rostov to Donetsk and Mariupol and Berdyansk has been restored. We will continue this work, and soon railway carriages will move all the way to Sevastopol, offering another alternative road to an alternative to the Crimean Bridge. So together, arm in arm, we will go forward, and this action, not words, that is what makes us really stronger.
Well, that was Vladimir Putin in the last hour. Now, Ben Noble is an Associate Fellow for the Russia and Eurasia Programme at Chatham House. He told me why this election was so important for Vladimir Putin.
The Kremlin will definitely point to the official result as proof that Putin is actively and enthusiastically supported by the vast majority of the population. But the picture is much more complex than that. Yes, there are some people who are ardent supporters of Putin, but there are also those that detest him. And more importantly, there's a large group in the middle with ambivalent feelings towards Putin. And the Kremlin has made sure that it presents to that large middle group Putin as the leader without alternative. So many people will have gone to the polls because of that. If not Putin, then who else? But also we shouldn't forget the extraordinary propaganda in the country. And as I say, the Kremlin will demonstrate that Putin is still at the centre of politics and therefore is going to be around for many years to come.
So what do you expect over the next 6 years?
I think we're going to see an even more emboldened Putin. This is a man who will now have 6 more years in power, and then, because of changes that he introduced to the constitution in 2020, he can run again in 2030 to stay in power until 2036, at which stage he will be 83. I think we're likely to see more domestic repression, more use of coercion, the Kremlin taking unpopular decisions that it didn't want to in the lead up to the election, where it wanted to present a Russia that was confident and rosy in the state providing support to people. So it's going to be an even uglier Russia domestically, but also emboldened when it comes to the ongoing war against Ukraine.
You talk about making unpopular decisions. I mean, there have been huge losses in this war for Russia, upwards of 300,000 people. Given he has said what he said about the war and what lies ahead, does it give him scope also to implement full mobilization there in Russia?
That is certainly the question that many people are grappling with, but I think it's not certain that Putin will, now that he has been re-elected, call a full mobilization. And the reason is because when they called the partial mobilization in September 2022, it was so deeply unpopular, Putin's own approval ratings took a hit, that the Kremlin just probably won't want to do that. Of course, it's difficult to predict at this stage, but I think it's more likely that the Kremlin will find steps, it will take steps in order to find new manpower to feed the voracious appetite of the war machine in Russia through things that go under the radar. So recruiting people in different ways without the big policy announcement that could be deeply unpopular of a full mobilization.